Hello, this is Marcin. This is Vazco weekly update on status development. Business goals and company priorities. One mandatory updates. Like I presented in previous movies, from September we were working on updating the core components of applications. We had to do it because Google introduced new mandatory policy that every new build sent to the store has to support 64-bit architectures of the devices. We were prepared for it earlier, and in our binaries we had necessary tools and libraries, but in order to push new version to live, we had to introduce many changes and new versions of core components. So it was already done on the staging application for like 2 months, and this week we pushed new versions with those changes to the live versions of the stores. So right now we have Android and iOS application in the newest version available for us. The components that were updated are the core components on which our application is built, and those are Expo, Node, React Native, Zebra Scanner device driver for the organizer application, and native Google library to communicate with the Firebase storage and to use it to introduce native login with devices. Also, we have prepared for the next steps Stripe libraries and many other tools used by the application. We introduced Google native login to the application, which I can demonstrate right now. On the previous versions of the guest app, we used web views to do many things because there was no native support for it. Right now, to log in to my account via Google account, we are using the native part. And for example, if I want to log in or register with Google account, that's the native the device screen, not the JavaScript or web version as it was before. I can simply choose my account. It's much faster. There is no need to build additional tools or to use the web components. I'm just logged in. That was available on the staging version for quite a few weeks now. This week we pushed this to the live version of the application, so we can use it on live, and it works pretty well. So like I said, we have new versions. We also did a little data migration because with each version we introduced some changes to the data model. That was done. We're ready to go and to use it on live. One of the issues we had this past 2 weeks was the discussion on the payment flow on Stripe side. That was settled. We changed the model, we changed the payments, and the payments via credit card and SEPA are working okay, and we have all available to us information about the transactions and the Stripe fees saved on orders, so you can construct the reports with that information. One of the things we had and still have to update is the payment processing flow. Because of introduced in September new strong customer authentication law by European Union, we have to change how the whole process of payment is and how we save the payment method details of the guests. We have basic blocks for it already built. We have prepared and put in place the library we will use, and we're working on delivering this solution to the application. The ETA for this for now is mid-December. It's a two-step process. Like I said, the part 1 we have already done. Part 2 will be visible with the new sign-in, because there will introduce new screens that the user will use to enter his payment methods and his payment details. Number 2, gamification and new sign-in. Gamification turned out is a really big project. We're still working on it. Right now we're on the integration phase, because we have already prepared the backend side, so the storage and the methods are responsible for saving and processing data we get from the application. There are some graphical components like badges and other elements. Already they are still a little changing, but we have the components ready, and when we have to modify them, it will be much quicker work. The integration is ongoing, but we have to basically catch every action that the user is doing in the application and save it and react to it accordingly to the current challenges. The basic actions are like buying tickets, buying drinks, but those are events we can catch on the fly. But we have also to do a lot of calculations with what we catch and how to react to it. So this is ongoing. There is still nothing to show because it's dependent on the many factors we have to prepare. But we are working on it, we're asking questions, and development is ongoing. The initial challenges with gamification are strictly tied to the sign-in process, especially to the new sign-in process. So new sign and gamification is tied together. So working solution showing how it works and how the challenges are fulfilled is dependent on those two projects. Right now the gamification is more advanced than the new sign-in, because we started working on sign-in and we had to postpone it a little due to Duetto or other tasks which were more important right now. So our initial optimistic estimation date for gamification was very optimistic, it turned out. The problem is more complex than we thought, and the gamification part alone, like I said, is mostly built, but the integration of two of those projects, so gamification and the app, that's really hard work, and we're still doing it. The guest application and logic responsible for working of the application for the flows was modified several times by now, and catching all the necessary stuff is really time consuming, and we have to do it in a way which will not break anything else. So it's sometimes do and test task. There are also many dependencies in the app with routing, with showing screens, and in the general flow. So, like I said, it's not an easy task. We have to think about what we do and when we do it to not break anything else. Like I said, the gamification is tied to the sign-in process. We had a few unexpected problems with payments, so part of the team had to be rerouted to other tasks, so sign-in is temporarily on hold, and if everything works and it looks like it works, we're going back to the sign-in and to the gamification together. Part 3 is Serwater. The original plan was to introduce gamification in Serwater. So right now we have 2 things we need to finish before we can do that event. It is gamification working and it is new signing. ETA for it is January, and for it are several reasons. We're already almost in December. There is the Christmas holiday, and almost all of the team will be absent, will not be working, and even if we finish the gamification and sign in earlier, we need to test it, and there will be many test cases to check. So putting a half-baked solution to the live wouldn't be a good idea. So to be safe, even if we manage somehow do it earlier, it would be not wise to go with the live event on Serwater with gamification, because that can be problematic if anything happens. Those are big projects, very complicated in implementation and logic behind it. So that's the current estimate for Serwater. Part 4, Google Pay, Apple Pay, also known as payment methods. This is planned when we finish our current work with notification to the payment process, to the SCA regulation and other stuff with payments. That will be next. We will have by then already some solutions regarding Stripe communication with our application, like native library and other necessary things. So it shouldn't be too complicated, but that can be said for sure when we start doing it. Right now there is no one who can take those tasks, and like I said, we have to do to end our current work with payments, and when we end that, Google Pay and Apple Pay will be next to implement. Almost same thing for the counter order 2.0. We didn't yet estimate the cost of building this solution. We have, like I said previously many times, we have some parts we can use to build it, but their estimation will be given by us, I think, in January, when we will have time to plan this work. Right now, all the developers are busy with other important tasks, so it's still waiting for implementation in the queue. Part 6, OBA and every weekend events. We are on the call every Friday. We have set a system for assigning a developer who is monitoring the event and waiting for any information. That something is wrong. I will put on every Friday before the event the information on the Slack, who's on the call, and who will be monitoring the situation. If I manage, I will be monitoring those events too, maybe not always, but when I can. Part 7, financial reporting through Grid Organizer. Right now, we finally have a well-defined report we can build. Mateusz is working on this new version with Dominic. They're in constant contact. The work is progressing. we have basic blocks of it and ready, and first data is generated. There are still some issues to solve, like how to present transactions for universal grid credit, which will be coming in the near future, how to calculate orders, how to tax them, and such stuff. We are at the stage of settling these things with Dominic, and the reports are building. We estimate that by the middle of December we will have the complete and working solution accessible via the web tool for clubs and the report for grid too. So putting this to the organizer application, like was the original idea to see it in the activity tab. Shouldn't be as complicated as it sounds. So we will have another tab here, if I remember from the mockup, about data intersections. And when we will have those reports ready on the website, we will just show them in the organizer application.